It's come up. It's just got the main screen, like the waiting screen on there, for me.
I've just clicked on it, saying you're live. I don't know.
It's come up. It's just got shoot. The main screen. Like the hang on. For me. What's going on there?
I think we're on.
Oh yeah, we are on. Yeah, that just took a while to refresh. Hello everyone.
Wave. That's what they came for.
Oh, hang on. There we go.
Yeah, don't worry.
So
right.
just
sort of Dan Inception thing going on.
Oh shoot! That's my phone. That's.
Just
I don't know what's going on there.
Dan's watching his own live stream whilst talking to himself in the live stream.
Sorry, my phone. It was my phone. So were we broadcasting?
So
I'm not sure. I clicked onto the YouTube page and then something sort of changed. It's like it had frozen. So I'm genuinely not sure. But you've got the as long as we've got the audio, that's all that really matters anyway.
We've got the audio, yeah.
So just to clarify for anyone joining the stream, I'm purely saying this as a cover, just in case it wasn't broadcasting at the time. Hello.
Just talk really quickly. Redo the whole thing.
Yeah. Too much time on a hand stream. There's four of us, obviously the normal TMTOH crew. We were also joined by Rich from Penguin Audio, who is talking to us about the Discworld audiobooks that I have. Some of them come out, but we've got loads more coming. Anyway, we're not going to sort of start the whole conversation again. We'll just carry on.
It's all going to be on the first quarter of an hour is going to be on the quarter of an hour. That's optimistic, isn't it? The first 10 odd minutes is going to be on the podcast. Yeah.
So Rich, Andy Serkis, who knew voice acting was something that he would be able to turn his hand to quite so easily? How did you convince him?
He was awesome. He was awesome. There was minimal convincing. Getting dates in the diary more difficult.
Yeah, he's normally quite busy.
Yeah. But I mean, he was phenomenal. I'm part way through Small Gods at the moment, and it's like listening to a drama because he's just going for it on every single part. And
it's not like him either, so you know.
It's like it's quite the like in terms of sort of epic scale. It's quite up there. It's a real outlier in the series, and it's one of my favourites.
But it's so important because it introduces the Church of Om.
Yeah.
And they appear in so many books.
There's real disagreements about where it takes place in the Discworld continuity. I think it takes place like 1,000 years before everything else, but other people think it's like 10 years before.
No,
I think those people are fools.
I agree, Russ. And as what we do know about TMTOH is everyone's allowed their opinion, but unless it's shared by everyone on TMTOH, then it's the wrong opinion.
Yeah. So when we say something, it tends to that is
it's canon.
Canon, yeah.
And actually,
then of course, in Thief of Time, we learn that the Discworld's entire continuum is fractured and stitched together anyway. So you can basically explain away anything you want to.
Yep.
Yeah.
And also, just remember that anything we say here today about Discworld, the people who look after the Discworld wiki, you can change the entries to reflect what we've said. That'd be great.
If we ever get cited on Wikipedia, then that we've officially gone too far, and we have to stop.
We've had some very interesting thoughts about Transformers that I think people should be paying attention to.
Yeah, that's very true. Well,
Andy Serkis, sorry, Rich.
Rich. So you mentioned there are 40 novels.
Yeah.
Brackets 41 if you include The Last Hero, but I'm guessing you're not doing that because that wouldn't really work.
It's difficult to do.
Yeah,
definitely.
So it's like the Tiffany Aching books are included. Amazing
Morris.
Excellent.
It at the moment it's everything apart from Last Hero.
Wow. Amazing Morris is always introduced as like a younger reader's book, but I find it absolutely terrifying.
Oh, yeah, I know.
And kind of the same with Tiffany Aching books, right? It's they're sort of framed as children's books, but it feels like the line's quite blurred, I guess.
I think you could, if you sort of read them at the same age that Tiffany is, it would work quite nicely. So if you started at 11 and then kind of read one a year until you were 16, that would be
The Wintersmith is perhaps my favourite book. I just love it. And I know that he just wrote a lot of that book just so he could get a cheese joke in there.
Man after your own heart.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I would do exactly the same thing. So, like, I love the Pixies. I just think they're...
Yeah.
Can I talk about the artwork briefly?
No.
Yeah.
No.
All right, fair dues. Well, we'll talk about it offline, Rich. Well, obviously the original books and especially the paperbacks, of which I'm quite familiar because my dad has the entire catalogue, used very sort of distinctive artwork, almost reminiscent of kind of Renaissance era painting. Can I ask what artwork's being used on the front of the audiobooks or in promotional on the digital versions?
We say there's some new art for these, and we're doing the audiobooks alongside new editions of the paperback. So there's new cover art that's been specially commissioned for these releases.
Yeah, and they look really lovely.
Yeah, no, it's great. So it's it's updated artwork on all of the novels.
Wonderful. I mean, I only bring up the distinctive. The artist who did it escapes me, but I remember when Ross said, one that's marketed at children he finds completely scary. I remember being absolutely transfixed by the pictures on the front of those books because they looked like epic, amazing paintings that obviously, they sprawled across two sides of the book. Well, the only two sides of the book that you can really have. And they were always full of very, very intricate detail. And I mean, I think the new artwork is absolutely wonderful as well. But yeah, there's something about the artwork that actually brings across the kind of griminess of the Discworld. And I think that leads me on to my next question: is the soundscapes, the creation? I assume, being a Penguin audiobook, the soundscapes that you've had to create to bring out the bustling nature of Ankh-Morpork and the Discworld is fully intact and gets across the atmosphere? ?
Yeah, no, I mean these are just straight voice actually. So there's no, aside from the music, there's nothing in here apart from narration.
Oh, so, right.
Like, I guess because the last time I was on, we were talking about the 2000 AD adaptations that we did, and those, like, the comics rely so much on the art to get across the point. So you've got to do, in that instance, you've got to do something to replace the imagery.
Yeah, the dialogue's not going to tell the story on its own.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't do enough on its own. Whereas in this one, like, Terry's done it all for you. There is absolutely, you don't need to add anything because it's just all in the writing. And so the job was just to try and get, the reason that we've used multiple voices even on this is just to try and get as close to what it's like to read the book in print as you can in the audio version. And the fact that there's kind of those different voices all kind of look different on the page, we wanted to reflect that in the recording. But apart from that, we literally haven't added anything.
That's quite an interesting choice then. I think it's almost kind of pared back to let because like you say, the writing is so illustrative and so visual, which is bizarre. It seems like it's a very silly thing to say, but it's very visual writing, and it does evoke images that actually it's probably one of the very few series of books that could get away with that.
Yeah, no, and I think it's just you kind of leaving room for the performances to carry it. Like, you've got all the narrators have just really gone to town on the kind of cast of characters and the delivery and so on, and that's kind of the thing that does all the work, really. And that, I think that's what will keep people hooked in is just kind of the writing and the performances.
Also, like, there's 40 books. You'd never get them all done if you went full production for all of them. But I think, like, yeah, it is such, like, I've always had a real issue with a lot of the Discworld fan art out there. Not because it's not good, and not because I could do better, because I certainly couldn't, but just because it doesn't match what is correct in my head. Like, I think it's one of those things where you form really strong impressions of what everything looks like. And so most of the stuff I look at, I go, no, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, which is completely my problem. But I think it's just one of those things where you form such incredibly tight ideas of what all these people look like and what all these places look like.
Have you ever played the original Discworld point-and-click adventure game?
That's what I was about to bring up.
Oh, were you?
I was going to say the only artwork that I felt came kind of close to what I imagined was the Discworld game, the point-and-click. Well, that was voiced by Eric Idle, wasn't it?
It was.
Yes, Eric Idle as Rincewind.
The second one was pretty good. I thought that one was quite nice, although it made it a bit more cartoony. But the little-known one, which is the fully isometric 3D point and click sort of, was Discworld Noir, which was set in the sort of dirtier Ankh-Morpork and underground.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that was bloody marvellous. Like the darker aspects of the Discworld really shone through in the art on that one.
I've got a really vivid memory of having to go and get a beekeeping outfit and blow smoke to get bees out of the way, and I cannot remember for the life of me why you had to do it. It was something to do with getting something in the unseen university.
They were from the heyday of those point and click games being just insanely difficult.
The first one was
try everything on everything.
The first one was widely renowned for having some of the most opaque puzzles ever.
The back of the box for the second one, instead of being like a description of the game, it told you how to beat the first one because nobody had finished it because it was basically impossible. So it did say, right, if you haven't finished the first one, you need to take this, do this, put this on this, use this with that, and then you can get through here. And then you can start the second one.
Is that around sort of Beneath the Steel Sky kind of era?
Yeah.
It was all a similar
absolutely right. When LucasArts was at the sort of peak of their point-and-click adventure gaming
Monkey
making.
Island 2.
Yeah, Monkey Island 2 is
I never really got into Monkey Island, though. I know that's like massive sacrilege, but
I loved Monkey Island 2. It was so
Monkey
good.
Island 2 is pretty much perfect.
Spent an hour trying to win a spitting contest. That's all you really need to know about that game.
You have to thicken up your spit.
And played the game for a bit afterwards,
and
right?
look for the wind blowing the flag.
Yeah.
That bit is tricky because it's the only part in the game where the environment actually impacts your actions.
Yeah.
But incredible. But anyway,
Monkey Island's really good. And they're doing a new one, so that's nice.
Yes.
So I've got to ask, did you meet Bill Nye?
I didn't.
Yeah, come on, flex on us with your contacts on your phone a bit more.
I'm not going to come in here and do the annoying bit. No,
He's frightfully nice chap.
I've met Bill Nye. He's really cool.
Have you?
When did you meet Bill Nye?
He came and did a Seafire adventure when I was working up in Eastdale.
Amazing.
This is the first I've heard of this, Duncan. And usually the bollocks you spout on this podcast, and you've got like some gold like this, just like.
I've met Terry Nutkins. I've met Bill Nye.
Terry Nutkins, bless him.
Terry Nutkins.
Absolute.
Lost a
I
finger.
didn't make him laugh.
He loves animals. They hate him.
My mate made Terry Nutkins laugh. It was funny. But yeah, met Bill Nye. He was the most humble guy. He was like, yeah, I'm an actor. I was like, I know who the fuck
Just
you
got
are.
on the boat and goes, I'm an actor.
But he's like, I don't know if you know who I am. Yeah. Well, he was like, he didn't even say that. He was just like, hi, really pleased to meet you. And he was there with his daughter. He was really nice. He was really humble. You know, he wasn't expecting you to know who he was. And that was really cool.
Amazing.
That's really cool.
That's
really cool.
Now that is a top quality. That's not even a Duncan dote. That's just a solid gold anecdote right
That's
there.
an actual anecdote. Yeah.
Did you actually take him out in a boat? Was Bill Nye's life in your hands briefly?
I was not doing. No, I wasn't doing the tour that day. That was really upsetting. That I was not the one doing
imagine
the tour.
world where Duncan accidentally killed Bill Nye?
I was never the skipper, so it's fine.
And
So you wouldn't
as a
have been
result,
technically responsible.
as a result, it ruined Rich Here's audiobooks.
Out of this
Bill Nye
podcast, the one who is most likely to accidentally murder a national treasure is definitely Duncan.
Yeah, I would definitely go that. Yeah.
Well, not murder. It would have been
Manslaughter.
Accidentally murder, yeah.
Gross negligence.
Yeah,
I love that you
that's
go
okay.
in at gross negligence. I think it would be manslaughter, probably. I'm no legal expert.
No.
Myself.
In the chat, tell us. I don't know. Yeah.
So is it like the likes of Venetiari who are? No, he's the kicker, isn't he?
Veterinary.
Veterinary.
Wrong podcast.
I always do. Do you know how
podcast.
difficult it is when there's a kicker and a Patrician, who both have very similar names.
I do frequently confuse Discworld characters and NFL players. It happens to me all the time.
I confuse everyone with NFL players, Rich.
I
So I feel your pain. I know you're not being serious, but I am. So yeah. Sorry,
Anyway,
Dave, you can carry on.
Is he like one of the people that has a different voice, like someone else is voicing him?
No, so it's the only people that have consistent. Like, I guess the easiest way to think about it is like there's two voices that appear all the way through all the 40 novels, which is Death and the Footnotes.
Yeah.
And then everything else is read by it kind of read in chunks. So Indira 6 Witches novels, Colin Morgan's reading all the Wizards novels, all the Rincewind books, Sean Clifford's reading all the Death books.
Death's voice is it's an it must be an interesting sort of challenge to try and get, because it's not really a voice, it's a feeling, and like it shouldn't be.
Just appears.
It's not like scary, but it's sort of like the ultimate authority, I suppose.
It's very matter of fact in the way that it's delivered. I really like it. It's sort of because Death's character's got quite a kind of accidentally wry sense of humour and sort of is quite he just makes statements of fact all the time. So it's quite like it's played quite straight.
Yeah, but then Death also has some of the most kind of compassionate and eloquent bits of writing in the whole series, especially as it gets towards the end. I mean, it was obviously one of the characters that he put most kind of himself into, and a lot of what he was thinking about towards the end of writing those books went into Death. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that comes through.
Who didn't have a tear in their eye, and with the Death and Granny Weatherwax scene.
Yeah, I mean that's like two of the best characters in the whole thing for these books that I've been reading since I was like 12. Having like an amazing sort of two-handed dialogue thing.
Some of us didn't learn to read
on a stage.
Okay,
by 21, I was I was really getting there.
Yeah.
I thought you could have said. Anyway,
sorry, Russ. I talked over you for a cheap joke. So carry on. Sorry.
No, hey, we always cut to the cheap joke here.
It's fine. Halfway through what you were talking about, I accidentally blinded myself with my halo.
I noticed, by the way. So. It was one of the funniest things seeing your face.
Yeah, fuck me. It properly dazzled me there. So
what was that? It looked like a little sun rising.
I'm gonna just shield my eyes. It was my halo lights. Oh, there.
Yeah,
which came on very,
you look
very
like
bright.
It's been like a nuclear test, and that it's going to hit us in 4 seconds or something.
I'm just dazzled by the amazing work on these Discworld audiobooks.
It looks like it's making you cry in the corner.
So are they being released kind of series by series?
Yeah. So each series has got its own kind of moment, and then there's quite a lot of standalone novels that don't really fit logically into a series. Those are kind of coming out at the same time as
sort like Pyramids series. And things like that don't really have an overall series.
Yeah, Monstrous Regiment kind of sits on its own a bit. So those will kind of come out alongside. Those will kind of come out alongside the series when they come out.
Can you reveal who's reading Monstrous Regiment?
I'm not sure I can actually at this point because I'm not sure it's been announced, but it's good. You'll like it.
I love Monstrous Regiment.
Yeah, it's one of my favourites actually. One of my favourite Discworld novels.
Wait, remind me, which is the one with the clickies where they first arrive?
It's
the clacks.
Yeah, it's the.
Do you mean
clacks,
like the semaphore system?
Yeah.
No, the clickies. The
moving pictures.
Moving pictures. That's it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Pictures.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, that one's kind of. It's got the wizards in it, hasn't it? In fact, that's
the
one where Ridcully gets introduced, isn't it?
No, Ridcully gets introduced in Equal Rights. He's in Equal Rights briefly.
But he's not Arch-Chancellor in Equal Rights.
No. But Moving Pictures is where you get Detritus. I always called him Detritus, but Detritus.
Yeah, I always read that as Detritus, but that's not actually a word, is it?
Well, Russ, what have we already said?
Well, yeah.
It can be a word if you want it to be, Russ. It can.
So I read the script book of The Usual Suspects before I actually saw the film, and I was convinced that the character who actually is Kaiser Soze was pronounced, because obviously I'd read the book and the script. I thought it was Kaiser Soze. and that's clearly not.
I mean, it makes about as much sense as the real pronunciation, to be honest.
Exactly.
I've spent the last 3 weeks watching NFL players or future NFL players with sometimes quite difficult to pronounce names, and then hearing them be drafted and go, oh, okay, I was completely wrong.
It's Jim.
Way off.
Oh.
I was so tempted during that just
Tim
before
Jones.
I was so tempted to share that Key and Peele sketch.
Oh, it's so good.
So funny.
It's so good. The East meets West one's amazing.
Yes.
So I'm just looking at Andy Serkis's Wikipedia page, and he doesn't seem to list these on his audiobook work at the moment.
You do know that he doesn't maintain his own Wikipedia page.
I'm just saying that, just in case
you're a lot of edits here from Gollum 369.
Yes.
I can tell you that James Hannigan has already put it up on his credits. And other
people don't manage these things themselves.
No, this is on his website.
I think you'll find they do, Russ. Just like if I hold this Hydrate bottle up, we'll get sponsored by them.
He did the music for Alien 3, Alien River of Pain, and Sea of Sorrows.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I mainly and Out of the Alien Hours Shadows. I mainly say that for Tom's sake. Oh, and he did Dead Space 3.
Very good books. I haven't actually listened to the audiobooks, but there's the sort of thing I would actually quite like to listen to at some point. Are they Penguin books? I don't know where they are. They're probably not.
I don't think so.
Why don't you know your entire catalogue off the top of your head?
Yeah. Is there a lot of them or something?
So, right, Rich, ridiculous nerdy question here.
Yeah. Okay.
But so do you have a massive vault of the transcripts of all of these books that you can call up on a computer or something? I'm guessing somebody's not literally sitting there with the paperback thumbing through it. So
we have. So it's so we have. I don't know how nerdy an answer you want. We basically have a custom built database which has kind of all of our.
So
it's the back end. It's the
full
back
text
end
of
everything. So it has. We've got PDF versions of books. We've got all the audio files. We've got all the kind of metadata and information around books. So the cover copy and that kind of stuff. It all kind of lives on the system. So if we're producing, so we did a lot of the Discworld sessions. We've got a studio at MC Coms, which is our main office, which is kind of where I work is just outside the studio. And so you've got an iPad in the studio, and if someone's coming in, we'll upload a kind of PDF onto that iPad into a piece of software where people can mark up and edit and highlight, and that you kind of get a kind of editable PDF that people can make notes on, and your producer can kind of mark where we've had to retake or whatever straight onto that. So that's the actual process of how it works.
Please say that the Discworld ones is held in a folder either called L Space or the Unreal Library, or just the library. But
I would love to tell you that was true, but I would be lying.
Just tell me that it's true.
Yes.
I'm sure in various IT systems around the world, there's lots and lots of Terry Pratchett references. And
so Rich,
a lot of emails, if you look in the header code, you'll find GNU Terry Pratchett in the header code of emails that are being sent from various companies and things, because loads of system admins have stuck it in there as a tribute to him, which is quite wonderful.
It is.
So Rich, quick question here, personal question, not about you, something for me is purely a selfish question.
Why aren't I narrating them?
As someone who has done some voice acting in the past, how does one break out of dental product advertising and into reading full books like this? Do I have to have been a CG character in a Peter Jackson film? Go.
You serious answer. It's one of the most difficult acting jobs in the world. And I know it wasn't an entirely serious question, but like I think if you watch people do this, like the level of there's sort of two versions of it. One is like the level of prep. Like you think about, you guys that know the books, like think about reading a City Watch novel, the number of characters, the number of locations you've got your head around, like the number of bits of language that you've never heard before because they're entirely made up, that you've got to come up with a way of pronouncing and check. Right, so like the prep work and the getting ready to do a job like this is immense. And then actually the job is pretty grueling. Like it's 8 hours a day of talking, and not just talking, but having to retake over and over again when things aren't right. You know, having to take direction. You're sitting in, you know, a relatively small space for long periods of time while somebody sits in a very small space next to you and tells you got that line wrong for the fourth time over and over and over again, and keep doing that. And a lot of those performances are really, so the great God on in Small Gods is a tortoise, right? But in this, he's a shouty scouse tortoise.
Amazing.
So Andy Serkis is delivering. I'm not going to try and do it. I'm going to send you all a download code for the books after this, so you can have a listen yourselves. But like, he's got to do a like quite sort of semi-aggressive Liverpool accent.
That's
for a character that appears in almost every scene of the book, and he's got to do that for kind of 3-4 days on the trot.
That would never ever have occurred to me, but a shouty Scouser is absolutely perfect for the tortoise incarnation.
It's so good, so good.
So essentially, what you're saying is, do a bit of reading the day before, and it will probably be all right.
Quick flick.
Sounds a bit like Tom. Honestly, it sounds a bit like what you working for Panorama anyway.
Or the company that we probably shouldn't keep talking about name-wise on this podcast, considering the explicit nature of the language we sometimes talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that other company that you work for. I don't know. I've had a beer.
But no, like, I think we hire people that haven't done audiobook work all the time. So there's people do absolutely kind of break into it, but it's a really hard gig, to be honest.
I get you. It's not what you know, it's who you know, isn't it? There we go. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Tom might have just heard what he wanted to hear then. So
absolutely.
And would actually be perfect, because we know from Dan spends a long time talking, and he sounds very much like DMing.
But we've already talked about my limited reading capacity.
Does a very good Kermit the Frog / Adam Driver.
Yeah. Do you
can
like
do
a
a
Kermit the
really
Frog?
good scouse.
I can do that. I can do a scouse when I'm trying to do Scottish. Yeah, that's
fine.
Brummy does Birmingham sort of accent.
Who's that?
You do that.
Yeah.
You do that. Yeah.
Well, that's going to be my next question. I was going to say, do you think you can get Andy Serkis to come play D&D with us? Because I reckon he'd be really good at it.
We do need some more variety for the NPC voices.
Yeah, he can DM.
It'd be a bit intimidating, though, wouldn't it? Like, he's just been like doing some amazing soliloquy, and they're like, "Right, it's your turn."
Yeah.
Hit it.
My name's Bob the Goblin.
Nobody needs that.
Bob the Goblin. I forgot about him. The Boblin the Goblin.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Stop it with the inside references that literally only we would get.
At least there's 5 of us that would get it this time.
Yeah, one more person. Yeah, so that's good.
So the Witches series is like, so where is that going up to? Is that including the Shepherd's Crown, or are the Tiffany Aching ones kind of separate?
No, the Tiffany Aching ones. The Tiffany Aching ones are kind of separate.
Okay, cool. Because that is a great series as like a lead in to the world. That covers a lot of characters, a lot of locations, a lot of kind of the lore and history, and just like the stuff you got to get your head around with stuff like how magic works and things like that. It's a really great intro.
And that elves are really, really evil bastards. It's just brilliant.
Most of them are. So we are 3/4 of an hour into the stream. Rich, final takeaways before we move on to talking about Star Wars and Kenobi and things like that. Rich, keep it top line, but what's the message?
Go and buy them, fools.
No, I think I would say the thing that I found really interesting about this is how contemporary the books feel and how like modern the kind of thinking and the characterization and everything is. So I think if you have looked at Discworld and thought, oh my word, there's a lot of this, where do I start, what do I do? Some of these books are 20 plus 30 plus years old. Is this for me? Give it a crack. Absolutely, and this is a great way to start, particularly if you're kind of slightly intimidated by the length of it all. And if you want to see and hear a bit more, we made a behind the scenes documentary, which is about 20 minutes long and looks at kind of the process of making them and gives you snippets of all different people performing, which I will ask our lovely hosts to put in the show notes a link, and that's quite a good place to get started and get a sense of who you might want to listen to.
Yeah.
Where would we find that? Is that on?
It's on Penguin's YouTube channel, but I'll give you guys a link to it that we can stick in the show notes in the YouTube comments.
So, as someone that knows absolutely nothing about Discworld, where do I start? I'm in. I'm going to start. Where do I start?
Gods.
Don't do that, because then you have to wait for nearly a year to listen to it.
Oh, Witches.
The Witches books are a really good. There is not really a right or a wrong answer to that. You can jump in anywhere. Like if you started with some of the later books, you would perhaps struggle a bit with some of the characters and some of the very established settings, but More is a really good place to start.
Equal Rights
honestly, don't bother with the first 3 because they were a little bit on the experimental side. They're really good, but they kind of are a little bit inconsistent with a lot of what happens later.
Well, I think Equal Rights is really...
Equal Rights is great, but like how...
It's not the best weather wax.
How the wizards and the university and magic is portrayed kind of changes quite a lot after that. Yeah. So you might, if you read that and then went straight to a later one, you might find it a bit of a...
Weird Sisters, therefore, would probably be a good one.
Weird Sisters is probably my favourite Discworld novel, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. So I think that's a really good answer. And I also think Small Gods is like part of the reason we thought Small Gods would make sense in this at this point is it's a completely self-contained. You don't really need to understand the world at all to enjoy that. And because it's a kind of self-contained book, it's not leading you anywhere. It's not teeing you up for something that's going to happen 2 or 3 books time. Yeah. It's quite a good sort of, if you're thinking, I don't know whether I want to commit to this or not, Small Gods is quite a good place to start because it's one book. I think it's an 11 hour recording, and then you can that can be a kind of listening experience in its own right, or you could go from there kind of anywhere in the Discworld universe.
But it's not a difficult world to get into because it basically is our world. It's it sort of started off as a parody of Lord of the Rings basically, but it's become just sort of an examination of 20th century culture, really. Especially towards the later books. There's parallels for everything in the real world, and it's got some incredibly interesting things to say about diversity and race and society. And there's some really, really deep dive stuff you can get in there, but then there's also ridiculous puns about cheese. It's got everything.
It's just brilliant.
Okay, so Small Gods, yeah?
I'd maybe go Small Gods.
I'm on it. Yeah, I'm on it.
Small Gods.
So I don't have. I'm down 11 hours of NFL podcasts to listen to now, so that should fit in quite nicely. So that's that's not true. I will still be listening to them, but I will also listen to these. I just don't have to listen to them.
It's a wonderful coincidence that you have the exact amount of time for that. That's excellent.
Yeah, I know, it's weird how that
worked out really nicely.
Yeah. Alex Ailes says, a few people who started with going postal and they swear by it.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad shot. Like, obviously we're quite old, so and grudgingly I do accept that there are people who were born after me. So
what?
When I first read the Discworld novels, there was only about 10 of them. So
I started with my mum got me Interesting Times, so I started on that, and that's really a weird one to try and start with because you do need backstory, but it was also very interesting. It it was interesting. But it was it got me hooked. Yeah, Color of Magic and Light Fantastic are almost two books that stand alone. Like, even for the Wizards, they sort of stand alone. But
Color of Magic was the one that my dad, not just dad in general, it gave to me first as my starting point.
The first one I read was Guards.
I find it.
Yeah. That
so
is a really
weird.
good starting point.
It is, I mean, it's the start. It's the introduction to Vimes, who is just one of the greats, really, in terms of
Vimes and Weatherwax. You could combine them, and it would be some it would be some really interesting philosophy, because it's some fantastic. I mean, even Unseen Academicals, you don't really need to know everyone. That is I know it's kind of counted as a Wizards, but it's not strictly a Wizards. The Wizards appear.
None of them are really strictly anything. They're all their own thing. But yeah, there are the sort of the groups that they roughly fit into. But
I think you've got, if your dad's really into Discworld, Tom, I think you've got an argument for, you see, this is quite nerdy, and so is D&D, and I'm sorry, Dad, but I'm into D&D as well.
I mean, you'll be safe, Tom. Yeah. Now we know that your dad's into Discworld.
I can already hear him sharpening the pencil to scratch me out the will.
I mean,
you can just 3D print yourself a new will.
Yeah.
It's the one thing I hadn't thought about printing.
Of late, I have firmly come to believe that there is no problem in life that can't be solved with 3D printing.
I mean, I know I showed you guys last time, but it's actually even more applicable now. But I have actually printed out the Discworld.
All right, yeah.
That's amazing.
Which with the rimfalls on the bottom, I've got the elephants over there, but their trunks fell off, and I haven't actually printed out Greater Chewin yet, because he's a 12-hour print.
Do you know how?
That's what happens when you try and 3D print an intergalactic star turtle.
I hate.
Who might be on their way to an intergalactic breeding ground? We're not sure.
We're not.
It's a bit embarrassing how long it took me to realise the mountain being called Done Manifesting. Just like, because you're reading it and you're not hearing it, and then when you say it, you're like, oh. It took me too many years, in fact. But I was like 13, 14. You're not thinking of that kind of.
Perhaps one of my favourite elements of Discworld. Sorry, I know I was sort of the one going, let's move on to Star Wars, but actually, we're still on the Discworld. One of my favourites is where, I can't remember which book it's in, but when they talk about the empathic wizards, telepathic and empathic wizards that they lower down in those little pods, trying to decipher the thoughts of Greater Chewin, they can't really. They get conflicting messages. It's either on its way somewhere or running away from something, and the only thing they can get from the elephants is that they've got sore shoulders. That they're really quite bored. Like the elephants are really bored and have bad backs. It's just genius on a new level.
Rich, can you pass on a message to Mr. Circus? Just and Andy, yeah. Just for starters, I loved you in the Batman. You're amazing as Alfred. Perfect. Just great in that film. Can you do, genuinely, I can't think of anyone I would rather hear do a live stream Dungeons and Dragons podcast. It would sell millions. I would buy all the t-shirts. I think you would be perfect for it. Can we just get him on like an episode of Critical Role or something? Because I think he would be amazing.
Him and Matt Mercer would just be intense.
Yeah.
Why don't we just invite him to join our stream?
Yeah. And here he is. No, just kidding.
Yeah. I can't do an Andy Serkis voice.
No one can, because that's
well,
how
nobody knows what he really sounds like.
Yeah.
Also, did you actually have any studio left after he had eaten all the scenery?
And does he sit on top of a big pile of dragon gold like Smaug?
Yeah, he's very method.
I can't speak to under all circumstances, not in any of my direct experience.
And how's he been since he fell into the lava in Mount Doom?
I think you're confusing the real Andy Serkis with Gollum there, Tom.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's how convincing he was.
If you met him in real life, you'd be a little bit disappointed that he wasn't a 4 foot tall little goblin creature.
Does he actually have that robotic arm that he has in?
Yeah, when he's
And is he South African?
claw. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're done now. Oh,
Right.
We
Well, you've gone
can't
weird.
comment on any of this.
Rich has gone very quiet.
My role as Andy Serkis' spokesman in this conversation is pretty limited.
I am really looking forward to these.
Yeah.
Like this Discworld was the first sort of proper nerd thing that I really got into, and it is still probably just about my favourite sort of piece of pop culture. You could take your Star Wars, take your Marvel, get rid of it. So yeah, I can't wait.
So anyway, let's talk about.
They are the best series of books, and then the second best series is The Expanse.
Yeah, and I assume we were talking about the novelisation of Star Wars there when we talked about the best series of books. Is that right? Or
No, no, Star Wars. No.
the Revenge of the Sith novelisation actually has some very interesting.
I'm really against bullying, but at this point,
Fair enough, yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Speaking of how shit Star Wars is, Star Wars.
Yes, may the 4th be with you, everyone.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're nearly an hour into this and someone's finally cracked a May the 4th joke.
Yeah, I tried to. Didn't work. But yeah. So
Let's lean into it.
let's so where do we want to start? Do we want to do we thought we'd throw in at the end, because I'm interested in hearing Rich's thoughts on this as well. We did a whole podcast on bad dinner guests, like in pop culture, and I thought we could do a Star Wars special where we each pick one and create the worst possible Star Wars dinner party. And also, I wouldn't mind quickly talking about the Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer as well. And I'd imagine we might be able to get a special guest on for that as well. But
His people are in my ear. He's ready and waiting whenever we're ready for him.
excellent.
So is this one of those podcast formats that you chuck at us with zero preparation time?
I fucking said it in the group.
he did.
Am I not getting your messages?
No, that wouldn't surprise me.
He's
I dunno.
muted you, Dan.
I think you're not reading them. I think you're getting them. You're just not reading them.
Right, who wants to? So a bad Star Wars dinner guest. Who wants to kick us off then?
Can
Am I
I?
allowed to go?
Oh
No.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Guess rights.
Go for it. Yeah.
Rich from Penguin Audio.
I've got one answer for this, and if somebody else gets in there first, then I'm going to just be grasping at straws.
Yeah.
So my bad Star Wars dinner guest, possibly controversially, is Han Solo. Because I think basically you invite Han Solo to your dinner party, it plays out roughly like this, right?
Yeah.
You invite him, Han Solo doesn't RSVP, does he, clearly? So you don't know if he's coming or not. And then he turns up and he's got Chewie with him, and you haven't got enough food for Chewie because Chewie's enormous. So you were like scrabbling around in the back of the cupboards, trying to find some extra pasta to feed Chewie. The chat's pretty good, so you're starting to forgive Han for not RSVPing and then bringing a guest without telling you. At which point the bounty hunters turn up and blow your house up because he's on the run again. So dinner party's ruined, and by the time you finish cleaning up all the mess that the bounty hunters made blowing your house up, he's run off with your wife.
That's excellent.
So I think that's probably how it plays out if you invite Han Solo to dinner.
Yeah.
Chewie only likes the spiral pasta as well. Like,
really
sus about it, yeah.
It's basically got the eating habits of a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I've got that mental image from Peep Show of Mark desperately trying to make what he calls like Moroccan pasta with like lettuce, baked beans, balls of cheese with
Is
like,
it
drawing
Moroccan?
on it to be. Is it Moroccan? It could be. Yeah, cooking's all about confidence. My choice next to that excellent played out was actually going to be quite dull, which is ironic considering how dull I find the character. But Mace Windu as a guest, so fucking boring. Like literally the most condescending and patronizing member of the Jedi Council, who, you know, even when he's off to go and face someone who he knows is probably a Sith Lord, is just like, well, you know, Anakin, if what you've told me is true, then you've earned my trust. I mean, who talks like that? Boring, you know.
Plus, you're like, got fucking Samuel L. Jackson coming, and he's Mace Windu. Bollocks.
Yeah, exactly. It's so boring that he needed a different coloured lightsaber to have something, you know. It's just it's purple. Great.
I've got two, so someone else can go next if they like.
I can go.
Go on
See,
then.
Mace Windu kills the conversation
Yeah.
like he'd kill your dining party.
Yeah.
Dining party.
A
dinner
gonk
party.
droid.
A gonk droid.
Yeah.
Gonk, gonk.
Very,
gonk.
I mean, clumsily shuffling over. It's going to knock a wine glass on the floor. You know it is, and it's going to be cock all use cleaning it up. What's it going to do? Just sort of gonk at it. And very little in the way of anecdotes, I'd imagine. There was this one time I was plugged into this thing.
Gonk, gonk.
That's about
Or
it, really.
what if he's like the Smurfs and uses gonk like as every word? You know, so I went out last night, met up with this really
Totally
gonk
gonked.
girl, totally gonked her.
Yeah.
You know, that might be
I
exciting.
don't see the gonk droids as having much of a nightlife, really.
On the plus side, like you'd be able to charge your phone.
It's true.
True, yeah.
But also, you clearly haven't been reading the fan fiction I've been reading, which is actually being turned into an upcoming audiobook from Penguin Audio.
I was going to choose. I was going to choose Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, it's a good choice.
Like, are you going to have enough food? Is it going to be the best quality? Probably not. He's the kind of one who will complain. And if he's not happy, your whole dinner party is going to end up as either Sarlacc food or Rancor food. So, you know, or he's going to weirdly enslave all your women. And
Yeah, he's got quite a domineering personality.
Yeah, I mean that's a
at
pretty
the
good
table, I
reason
think.
not to invite him to a party. To be fair,
and or he's going to be one of those, you know, or he's going to come up, you know, you do the hug or something, and he's just going to be that one who gives a really disgusting, slobbery lick. Actually, it's not even going to be a kiss. He's just going to go.
I don't think Jabba the Hutt is someone who I'd automatically lean in for a hug with.
No, but there's also the communication problem. I mean, like, first you will look half solo.
But
mean-
then does Bib Fortuna come with him? You know that.
Well, I don't know.
It's the same problem though, isn't it? Because if he's, you know, if he RSVPs, you're not going to know if he's bringing someone with him.
yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Although I kind of want to meet Salacious Crumb. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, like, how is he going to actually get there? Because if it's on that the sand yacht, where's he going to park? My drive barely fits the
Yeah,
camper
you'd
van.
have to
Like,
get one of those residence parking vouchers for him, wouldn't you?
yeah.
Yeah.
Logistical
I nearly
issues.
gave a serious answer and then went, what the fuck am I doing? So just
Very,
well, actually,
very-
it just hovers, doesn't it? So it should be fine. But yeah, no, that kind of goes against the.
I think
spirit
you'll
of
find
this.
that repulsor lift technology works just as well over tarmac as it does over sand.
They can just park out in Cardress Bay. It'd be fine.
It's all about weight distribution. You know,
But how,
as
so,
long as you're-
in all seriousness, though, why a repulsor lift ship
your
works
own
by
worst enemy
pressing, like
sometimes,
effectively, it's like a force field that presses against the ground. When they go over water, why don't they sink through it?
And if it's enough
it's
force, then
probably not
water
real.
acts as like concrete.
But like the
Depends
weight
on the
of the
depth of the
vessel is
water.
still being like put onto the ground, is how I understood it from reading
Yeah,
something
but
a long
water
time
is a
ago.
limited compressible liquid, and like if it's deep enough, and if depending on the force it's being pushed, then if you sometimes hit water at enough force, it's basically hitting concrete.
Yeah, but it's not going at speed, is it? It's just like supporting the weight of it.
Yeah, well, water can still support. Depends. Well, as Tom said previously, it's weight distribution. As long as it's spread across, then
I did
it's
say
going to
that.
be fine.
So maybe
But
like
it
the
will
emitter
it'll
field
sting-
of the repulsor lift spreads out to.
If it's deep enough water, it's
Are
going
you
to
used to like Star Wars?
I'd imagine
That's
there's some
turned
sort
into
of,
like A-level science class.
I'd imagine there's some sort of technology, you know, from a galaxy far
Far away, a long time ago.
That's a long time ago.
That compensates for that sort of stuff. So,
This
like,
is
you
why
know,
it's better in fantasy things, and you just go, no, it's magic.
Elves.
well, you know, they've got magic as well, haven't they? They've got
Yeah.
tech and magic.
Midichlorians, that's why it hovers. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, metachlorians. That's
Yeah.
it. Easy.
Oh, because you asked, my choice. Who shall I go with? Let's go with Obi-Wan. He's been living in a fucking little hut in the sand. Smells like balls. Let's be honest. So, like, you don't want him anywhere near your party.
I've got
You
another
could
one.
zoom him in. He'd have
zooming in is fine.
He'd have some chat.
He won't be able to get it work. He'd constantly be doing this at the screen, I think. But yeah.
Also, worst Jedi ever for hiding, because dresses like a Jedi.
Yeah.
Carries his lightsaber. I mean, trying to stay incognito.
Well, he keeps his lightsaber very secretly in a box that nobody would ever think to look in if they raided his house.
No,
Exactly.
Which has basically nothing else in it.
My other choice was Boba Fett, and it's only because you'd go up to your room and you'd find Boba Fett fucking in your bacta tank, wouldn't you? Just gradually, I'd imagine bacta tanks are fairly personal things. If you spend as much time in them as fucking Boba Fett does,
He does love being in a bacta tank, doesn't he?
he does, doesn't he?
Just
He
having
spends half that series in a
recollections.
bacta tank. So half the time he's on the screen, he's going, "Oh, I'm going back to my bacta tank," and it's just, for me, he's like Richard Grieco in Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the seaweed. Like that's his seaweed is bacta tanks. So yeah,
There's lots of communicable things like barukas going around if you're sharing back to tanks.
Oh, God.
You'd have to imagine a bacta tank is kind of self-cleaning in that respect.
I mean, you'd hope so, but I mean,
Yeah, I do like that.
Right.
You'd have to imagine, because the alternative is pretty vile.
The only other one I would say is a terrible guest is Jar Jar Binks. Just because he's so clumsy, the whole place would just be like, "Oh, let me help you."
Because he's clumsy. That's
I mean,
the
to
C
be
word I was
honest,
going to use as well.
anyone whose dinner anecdotes have been written by George Lucas, you don't want at your table.
Yeah, fuck it. I don't want to bring George Lucas.
The person whose house I do not want to go around for dinner is Yoda's. So
Yeah.
this one, it just looks disgusting food.
What is he cooking that stew out of?
Exactly.
Still wearing that same robe,
It's gonna smell of.
as Dan said.
Yoda
there's
does.
kind-
He clearly smells of like moss.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
It's like the
Yeah, it'd
worst
be like a
vegan
nice
house.
earthy, it's not it's not a stench, is it?
Yeah. Whereas Obi-Wan balls.
But
Yeah.
in honour of May the 4th, I am drinking my Stormtrooper beer,
Nice.
Shadow
That's good.
Stout.
I think he'd smell like the reject box in a charity shop. The stuff is like the secondhand pants. Like someone's like put them in a donation bag. They put them in there. It's like, oh,
The incinerator pile.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I really hope
must
it
have
stops
one.
raining soon. I really have to get out of here. Fuck, I can't see.
I was thinking, in terms of other like characters you wouldn't want to invite to your house, Jawas, because
Yeah.
they would nick everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dirty
You would
dirty
be
little
cleaned out
things.
in a second.
And the Ewoks, because they'll eat your pets.
Or you.
Or you, yeah.
Yeah.
I will hear nothing against the Ewoks.
I don't know. They're
I mean,
quite
they eat
cute.
people.
They do. That was
It's like-
established in one of the, I think, Star Wars Stories graphic novels, wasn't it? It's like
Yeah.
the
Family Guy as well.
and Family Guy. Yeah.
Well, and they immediately take Han and Luke off, tie them to a spit, and light a fire underneath them.
Yeah. They're going to eat them until they find a very fortuitous situation where their god looks exactly like the droid that they happen to be with. So yeah.
It's like a Star Wars plot that hinges on ridiculous
Hang on.
serendipity.
It's Star Wars bollocks.
So
You just
speaking
have to
of,
sus-
have we all
suspend
seen
disbelief.
the Obi-Wan trailer that dropped today?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I
No,
wasn't actually
because
asking.
I
I was
wasn't
sort of
briefed
talking
to
about it.
watch it.
Oh, sorry. There's an Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer, and it's really good. Just quickly before we get there, Dan says if Chewie loses charade, someone is losing an arm. And gonk droids are walking battery chargers, aren't they? There is always a guest that wants to borrow a phone charger, so it's super useful. Very true.
I bet
Can you imagine?
nobody's going to
Who's in
have
charge?
the
Yeah, sure.
lightning
Bonk.
adapter to gonk droid cable, are they? They're very proprietary in their.
I never even
connectors.
remember to take a phone charger anywhere, so I'm not really a good guy for that.
Exactly. Gonk droid, pretty handy. They can charge up like an X-wing, can't they? So yeah.
Yeah, it does look good.
I can even
So-
manage to make my 2-year-old iPhone last more than 3 hours.
That's
So,
planned
um,
obsolescence.
So yeah, Obi-Wan Kenobi trailer looks amazing. We got our first glimpse of Darth Vader in it as well, which is nice. Is he ready Tom?
Let me go check. Sorry, I'll go offline momentarily just
Yeah,
to
sure. Yeah,
just to
no
see
worries.
what's
Yeah,
going on.
yeah. It's weird that you never get to speak to him though. Oh, it's just a shame, really.
It's gone.
Oh,
Why do we indulge this? I'm sure it's not healthy.
it's been 4 years, Russ. We have to keep going with it now. I have to believe it now. I have to believe this is the real Ewan McGregor.
It's the joke.
I would love it if we could somehow ever get Ewan McGregor on this. I mean, obviously we do every time.
The real joke would be if Tom ever manages to get the real Ewan McGregor. Oh my God, it's him! Unbelievable.
Hello there.
Hello.
Delighted to be joining. Delighted to be joining you from the set of Obi-Wan Kenobi. As you can see, I'm staying very much in character, keeping myself very occupied.
You're still on
young.
the set of something that presumably finished filming quite some time ago.
Well, absolutely. I'm just on standby for the second series in case this 6-episode mini epic does as well as everyone thinks it's going to do.
One of my favourite things is that Ewan McGregor is clearly standing very close to a microphone all of a sudden.
Absolutely. I think
like
it's
Michael Park.
I think it's the satellite uplink that's causing the sort of slightly louder audio quality.
Yeah, that'll be it. Your picture seems to have frozen up a bit, but we can hear you fine. So I'm sure that's
great.
okay.
Absolutely. So absolutely. So it's going to be going live soon, and you've seen in the trailer that I spend a lot of time as Obi-Wan Kenobi in the TV show about Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you've got any questions, I'd be happy to field some of them, but nothing personal.
One of the things that is reassuring about the trailer so far is that it does not seem to be 6 episodes of Obi-Wan Kenobi sitting on a sand dune on Tatooine going, yep, well, he's still okay.
Well, you should have seen the first draft, actually. Charlie Borman turned his hand to trying to script some of them. And in fact, the first draft was basically Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, basically just acclimatizing. The first 6 episodes were, finding out where the shops were, rubbing coconut oil into my blistered skin from the twin suns of Tatooine, and shaking sand out of my undercrackers, and just generally trying to steal a bit of moisture from the moisture farmers, and it was awful.
Obi-Wan and his best friend go on a speeder bike tour of Tatooine.
Absolutely, it was awful. It was very much the quality that you'd expect from someone like Charlie Borman, who very much has made a career out of going around the world with me and then writing books and making that his job. So we got some better script writers in who've turned it into this massive epic that show that Obi-Wan didn't in fact just spend 20 years sitting around staring at his winkle. He was actually out doing all sorts of stuff with Inquisitors and Darth Vader and some of the best loved characters from the Star Wars franchise.
I'm thrown. I've totally forgotten what I was going to ask. Actually, Ewan, was it fun to work with Hayden Christensen again?
It was. Yes, it's always good. Sorry, that was just one of the sound men just accidentally came into picture right there. It was lovely working with Hayden again, and in fact it was fantastic. I was part of the group of people who found him underneath a bridge in Brooklyn, and we removed all the cardboard that he'd covered himself in. He was calling himself Cardboard Vader, and charging £5 in America, $5 for a picture with Hayden Christensen as Cardboard Vader. But we rescued him, we brought him back, and we put him on the set. We put him back in the suit, and he's been absolutely lovely to see him again.
It's going to be interesting to see what he can, like. There must be a little bit of him that's like, I'm going to bloody well nail it this time. I'll shut
absolutely.
them all up.
Absolutely. He's absolutely full of beans, full of gusto, and I wish him well. I wish him well. He's not on the set anymore. In fact, there's no one on the set anymore at the moment. So, apart from Charlie and myself.
What's Charlie doing?
He's looking after me.
That's nice.
Spent most of the time just riding around the set on a motorbike.
Yeah.
So I take it we're all quite looking forward to this. This is going to be the palate cleanser after the Book of Boba Fett turned out to be really quite boring.
Absolutely, but of course the one thing that people say that was missing was Ewan McGregor, and I'm pleased and delighted to confirm that I am in fact in this. So it will be better than most other things with Star Wars.
Well, people heard it.
Was it fun getting your lightsaber out again?
Absolutely, I absolutely love. In fact, it's contracted lightsaber. It has to come out at least once per shoot. I believe most of them will be deleted scenes that will be accessible by people who sign up to the Disney Plus Platinum package or whatever it's called, who will be able to see my lightsaber close up and very personally.
Cool. Anyone got any more questions for Ewan McGregor?
No, you're looking a lot better. You're looking a lot less crumpled and sort of stained than the last time we saw you, which is nice.
Well, absolutely. The biggest question perhaps has to be why I'm dressed as the Obi-Wan Kenobi from Revenge of the Sith rather than the one from the actual promotional
I'm guessing
shots.
That has something to do with what image result comes up first on Google.
Absolutely, which anyone would be able to very simply have got hold of had they spent more than 2 minutes trying to find a picture that worked here. I'm just guessing.
Well, this has been fascinating. Have you ever thought about doing voice acting work yourself, Ewan?
Yeah, I've done a bit of voice acting myself. And I think about it very, very often, actually. And to be fair, Rich, pleasure to meet you. And if there is anything I can do, you've got my number. It's basically Charlie Borman's mobile number. Just give him a call, and he'll put you straight through.
Have you ever wanted someone that sounds vaguely-ish like Ewan McGregor to do? No.
Okay, well, the offer's always there. Anyway, that's it.
I'm a little starstruck. I'm sorry.
It's fine. It's absolutely fine. I mean, going from Andy Serkis to Ewan McGregor, it's quite a step up in terms of A-listing, celebrities. So, look, with that, I'm just going to say, tune in. We need all the viewers we can get, and thanks very much for having me on here. Delighted, as always, to be here. Rich, pleasure to see you. Hopefully, you'll get home nice and safe, unless you're already home, in which case that's fine. Obi-Wan Kenobi away.
All right, yes. Cheers, Ewan. Now, I'm guessing there's going to be a brief awkward pause here of about the time it takes to rename yourself on Zoom.
I mean, is it just me, or does he sound a bit more like Parkinson?
He's sounding more and more northern than Scottish.
Well, he's getting older, isn't he?
Yeah, is that what happens?
Do you think he's going to have magically a stash of Parker pens?
No. Oh, look, it's Tom.
Oh
no, the illusion is ruined.
It's as if no one would have known anyway.
So how was that, guys? Was that did he come through okay?
He came through perfect.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was good. Yeah,
wonderful.
I really hope that you enjoy yourself doing this sort of thing.
I'm sorry, I was too busy modulating the frequencies to make sure it came through okay on the board.
Just because you'd hate to think that somebody goes to all this effort for something truly pathetic and they're not at least getting something out of it themselves.
I mean, I love it.
I get. Well, I would imagine if anyone were doing that, then yeah. All right, no, he's out. He's gone now. But no, I get a lot of pleasure from it. I would imagine, were it not just a cleverly crafted illusion.
I feel a little bit miffed by it there, really, because you didn't tell me Ewan McGregor was on the same night as me.
Sorry.
I could have come on next week.
Oh, you got top billing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I mean, but I feel bad now. Like you've stuck Ewan in at the end.
I know. Had you known.
He's very busy. He's still on the set.
Yeah, but and also don't give anyone around here the idea that maybe we should do a full episode with Ewan because I'm not sure anyone could really take that.
I don't want to let people see too much behind the curtain. But if that was something we would ever consider doing, I would be so up for it.
Yeah.
I think it would only work if you interviewed yourself. Because you've got such a rapport, you'd probably have to be the lead interviewer, I think.
Yeah, it would probably just have to be you and Ewan. Really.
Yeah, you and McGregor. Yeah.
You and that's what we'd call it.
That's what we call it. You and McGregor. That wow. I really wish I'd been here for that.
It's oh God, I can't believe I'm doing this.
It was like you were with us in spirit, Tom.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyway, there we go. Is there anything else anyone else wants to say aside from head to www.penguinaudiodiscworldbooks.com and
you can try that. And then when that doesn't work, you can go to Audible and buy them there.
Yeah, there we go. Or do that. Much easier. Simple. It's easy, isn't it?
Websites they're all about confidence, really, aren't they? You just start typing bold strokes, and you'll get to where you were hoping for. That's probably what happened to that guy looking for tractors.
He was looking for the Dominator. Did you not know, Russ?
He's looking was it the Field Dominator Combine Harvester?
Oh Lord!
I saw something disgusting in co-op the other day.
They just strap in, everyone.
I'm sure the world needs to hear this.
It took us like 6 years to drag out the Bill Nighy story, but here comes a co-op story. So buckle up, guys.
I was just going to say, there's something disgusting. They just had just tractors, just like a magazine of tractors, middle shelf, not even top shelf, just middle shelf, just there. Any child
filth.
could go and pick it up and flick through. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
The filth.
It's nice to know that the affairs of state are definitely prioritized by people, aren't they? You know, you can see what ranking they get in their day-to-day thoughts.
Ranking, did you say?
Yeah, good hard ranking. Anyway, on that grotesque note, let's wrap this mother up tighter than a mummy. So obviously, thanks for joining us on the stream. Sorry, I completely lost my sense of being right there. Thanks very much for joining us on the stream. If you joined us, wave, everyone, wave, including you, Rich. That's why they're here. Excellent wave. Thanks very much for joining us on the stream. If you were joining us and listening to us through your ears on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, whichever podcast you choose to use, thanks very much for doing that. You're definitely the majority. Try the stream once in a while. Be nice to see our faces. Put some faces to those names that you keep hearing. Yeah, it'd be lovely. It would be great. Thanks, Russ. Appreciate that. You're my hype man, as always. And we've obviously got some podcasts coming up soon. Dan, hit us with what's coming.
So I'm behind on the pods again because the draft got in the way. So this pod will be released along with the two more of the robot ones. And they'll be released on Friday. Robot ones, yeah. Excellent. Oh, and World Cup of Robots. Round 2 will be going up tomorrow. So
some big names dropping out in the first round already.
There's some good. Shall I tease some? Shall I tease some of the things?
Tease a couple of them, yeah.
Tease a couple of the ones that we've
got Wall-E versus Eva.
That's a crazy one, yeah. I'll just read them out actually. How about that? Let's just go crazy here. How about that? So yeah, we have Wall-E versus Eva. How's about a Cylon versus Megatron?
Mm-hmm.
K2SO versus Crichton. T1000 versus Fresh Cut Grass.
FCG.
Yeah, FCG. Marvin the Paranoid Android versus R2D2.
Ooh,
that one.
That is a bit of a heartbreaker. That one. There's not going to be any winners there.
No, definitely not. I'm so glad R2D2 just completely. So. But R2D2 just slapped down fucking C3PO though.
That's definitely.
Yeah. Bishop versus ED209.
Ooh.
And there we go. That's it. So yeah, some good ones.
Hypnodisc. I cannot believe Hypnodisc did not get. It's the only one that's a real bloody robot, and it didn't get through the first round.
I can't believe Hypnodisc, the robot that's only remembered if you were a certain age, then between the ages of 38
Dan,
and 40.
I hate to shatter your illusions, but if you were to break down the demographics of who listens to this pod, 35 to 40-year-old white men from the UK are probably going to be a fairly dominant category in that.
It's a fair point. It's a fair point, yeah.
It's a fair point.
Mm-hmm.
So, with all that out of the way, obviously, if you want to interact with us and you want to share any of your opinions on what we've spoken about, and you want to talk about, you want to ask questions about Discworld books, or you want to share your opinion about them as well, please do head to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Just use our handle at TMTOH. And don't forget, in our Instagram bio, you'll find a link to our Discord server, and you can join in some conversations that are going on there. There's always something going on. There's always something to talk about. So it's well worth plopping in. With that, we are at the end of the podcast. So we're going to say goodbye, Russ.
Laters.
We're going to say goodbye, Dan.
Bye, babes. Oh, don't forget to vote on National Make a Tory Sad Day tomorrow.
Yes, absolutely. Duncan, goodbye.
Cheery bye.
Finally, a very big thank you to Rich from Penguin Audio for joining us. Rich, goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Goodbye.
Absolute pleasure. And on that note, if my voice stays at this lovely baritone, let's cue the music.